Wanderlusters, we have woken up in Prague, so Prague day 2. Firstly, let me say thank you to everybody that's supporting this channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. Honestly, everything you're doing is helping it to grow, and for that I'm really, really grateful. So day 2, not 4, day 2 in Prague, and we're going to explore some of the historical sites here. We're going to try some Czechoslovakian food, we're going to learn some fun facts along the way, and hopefully I'll be able to share you some tips if you're thinking of visiting this most marvellous European city. So lots to do today, that's enough waffle, let's wander. Prague is a city of stories, where every cobbled street and towering spire whispers tales of the past. Nestled in the heart of the Czech Republic, it's a place of stunning architecture, medieval charm and centuries of history. Often called the City of 100 Spires, Prague is home to some of the most breathtaking landmarks in Europe. It's also one of the most visited cities in the world, welcoming around 8 million tourists each year, drawn in by its rich heritage, vibrant culture and legendary sites. We are here after booking a voucher mystery break, and after doing plenty of research before setting off, I quickly realised there's so much to uncover in this fascinating city. Our journey begins in the new town, where we spent the night at our temporary accommodation. Though let's just say it wasn't quite what we expected. For more on that drama, check out last week's episode. Today we're heading straight into the Old Town, starting with the heart of it all, the Old Town Square. But first, let's drop by one of Prague's most famous landmarks, the Church of Our Lady Before Tin. Here's a fun fact for you. So this church, which is a Gothic church in the Old Town of Prague, is reported to have inspired Walt Disney for the Sleeping Beauty castle. So take a look and see whether you think that is the case. The Church of Our Lady Before Tin is one of Prague's most iconic landmarks, standing proudly at the edge of the Old Town Square. Its striking twin spires, reaching over 80 metres high, dominate the skyline and give the church its unique Gothic appearance. Built in the 14th century, the church has a fascinating history, having witnessed many key moments in Prague's past, including the Protestant Reformation. Legend has it that the church's design was inspired by the architecture of churches in Northern Europe, with its spires symbolising the relationship between heaven and earth. Inside you will find beautiful Baroque altars and the tomb of Tycho Brahe, the renowned Danish astronomer who discovered the supernova in 1572, one of the most spectacular and violent events in the universe. But it's not just his scientific work that's interesting. His life was full of intrigue. Tycho lost part of his nose in a duel and wore a brass prosthetic. On special occasions he would swap it out for one made of gold and silver, adding a bit of luxury to his otherwise unconventional appearance. Tycho Brahe's life was as dramatic as his discoveries. He died in 1601 under mysterious circumstances while attending a banquet at Prague Castle. The belief is that he was too polite to leave the dinner table to relieve himself, which led to a serious bladder issue. He became delirious and died 11 days later, though some theories suggest he may have been poisoned. He was buried here at Church of Our Lady Before Tin, but his story didn't end with his death. Danish scientists exhumed his remains years later to put the speculation to rest, and their research is still ongoing. Unfortunately, photography and video aren't allowed inside the church, but I think you'll agree that the exterior alone is truly breathtaking and definitely worth admiring from every angle. What's even more fascinating is that in Tycho's time, Prague was a hub for alchemy, the belief that gold and other minerals could possess a vital heavenly principle. We'll dive deeper into the world of alchemy later in this video, but for now, let's continue our exploration of this incredible city. Yeah, we're now in the Old Town Square, which I thought actually we'd be a bit busier than this, because what time is it, Aid?
11:35.
11:35.
And learned to tell time now.
He has. I taught him that, and he's doing well. So yeah, it's supposed to be one of the most touristy places in Prague, the Old Town Square, and I am looking for some crosses on the floor, which I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to tell you a fun fact, of course, because this channel is full of fun facts, is it not? So here we go. Right then. We're looking for these crosses.
Are they? What's that across?
I would imagine that people are going to be...
Right.
No, I think they are over there, look, Aid. I think they are over there. Let's have a look. Yeah, they are. Right. Stay tuned. We are in the Old Town Square in Prague, which has history dating right back to the 10th century. It's one of the most historical important squares in the whole of Europe. Behind me are the white crosses, which represents the execution of some lords. They were executed and their heads were removed and put on pikes on top of St Charles Bridge, which we are going to visit later on. Behind me we also have the church, which is also very important, which is where I was talking about the Disney castle earlier on. It's a very impressive Gothic piece of architecture. You'll notice that one tower is actually slightly bigger than the other. That's because there was a fire caused by lightning and they had to rebuild it, but it's not actually level. And I think these are nicknamed the Adam and Eve Towers. I think that's what the nickname is. So have a little pan around the square, we'll have a little look. On this cobbled ground of Prague's Old Town Square, you will find a set of 28 white crosses. Easy to miss if you're not looking for them, but their story is anything but small. These crosses mark the spot where 27 Czech noblemen and rebels were executed in 1621. Their crime? Well, they dared to stand against the Habsburg rule in the 30 Years' War. And let's be honest, nobody in power likes a rebel. Their deaths were meant to crush resistance, a brutal display to showcase the power of the ruling force and what happens if anybody dares go against this. But our tour guide from the Ghost Walk last night, see more on that in the last episode, tells us to look out for one extra cross among them. This was later added for another lord of the group who took his own life while awaiting the execution. He chose to jump to his death from a window rather than face the swordsman. What do you think about that? Yeah. On the 21st of June 1621, the remaining 27 men were executed on behalf of the Austrian House of Habsburg. There were 3 lords, 7 knights, and other important men of the land. The executioner beheaded 12 of the men using 4 swords. There was no block, just a single swing of the sword for each event. While history often focuses on the public beheadings, this hidden detail is a haunting reminder of the fear and desperation that also played a role in the rebellion's tragic end. Today the crosses serve as a quiet but powerful memorial, blending into the busy square where history and modern life collide. If you visit at night particularly, with the streetlights casting long shadows over the stones, it's easy to imagine the echoes of that dark day still lingering in the air. Everything gets really busy around this area. It's because the astronomical clock is about to chime, which does it every hour. I'll show you the clock. We'll wait here for the chimes, and I'll tell you a little bit about why the clock is so important. Just around the corner from where we've just been standing, you will find the Astronomical Clock, one of Prague's most famous landmarks and one of the oldest working clocks of its kind in Europe. Built in 1410, this masterpiece doesn't just tell the time, it tracks the movement of the sun and moon, marks the zodiac signs, and even displays Old Bohemian time, an ancient system where the day begins at sunset rather than midnight. Prague, Czech Republic, has a long history of astronomy. A number of earnest astronomers and physicists, including Albert Einstein, still cited by modern science, called this city their home. And of course we have already uncovered the story of Tycho Brahe. If you can't remember, he was the one with the fabulous metal nose. At the beginning of the 17th century, Prague became the astronomical centre of the world thanks to the collaboration between the renowned astronomer Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler. Under the patronage of Emperor Rudolf II, they worked together in Prague, making the city a hub for astronomical research and discovery. It's no surprise then that the astronomical clock was built here, where science, art and legend intertwine. And as with many things in Prague, the clock isn't just a marvel of engineering, it comes with a dark legend. According to the tale, the clockmaker was so skilled that the city council feared another town might commission him to build a similar masterpiece. Determined to keep their prized clock unique, they hatched a brutal plan. One night, a gang broke into his home and in a horrifying act of betrayal, burned out his eyes with a hot iron, ensuring he could never create anything like it again. But he was not a man to go down quietly. Enraged, he stumbled his way to the clock, feeling his way through the familiar mechanisms, and with one final act of defiance, thrust his hand into the gears, breaking the clock so badly that it remained silent for years. It's said that on his deathbed, he cursed this clock forever, and legend has it that whenever it stops working, disaster follows. It's a great story, but like many legends, it's not exactly true, and experts now tell us this gruesome tale of his blinding is pure folklore. But let's be honest, Prague wouldn't be Prague without a few good legends, right? And speaking of which, if you love mysterious stories and eerie legends, stick with this channel because I've got something very exciting coming up in the next couple of weeks that you will not want to miss. We've left the astronomical clock and we are now going to try and find something very traditionally Prague, or very traditionally Czech apparently. This is something we have to try, so we will feed back when we get there. This is the Jewish quarter of Prague, which I'll cover in more detail on the next episode because today we're putting our stomachs before historical stories as there's something sweet we need to try, and it's called Trudurnik. You'll find this delicious pastry all over the city, its sugary scent filling the air from street stalls and bakeries. I have been told in advance though that this is the best place to get it from, and judging by the queues, that information must be correct. Trudurnik is a traditional pastry made from rolled dough, wrapped around a metal spit and slowly roasted over an open flame. As it cooks, it's brushed with butter and sprinkled with a mixture of sugar and cinnamon, creating a crispy, caramelised crust while keeping the inside soft and fluffy. Although many people think of Trudurnik as an age-old Czech treat, its history is a little bit more complicated. The recipe actually traces back to the 18th century and is believed to have originated in what is now Slovakia and Hungary before spreading across Central Europe. While it's not exclusively Czech, Prague has certainly made it its own, and today you can find it filled with everything from whipped cream and chocolate to fresh fruit and ice cream. So let's grab one and take a bite. Have you tried one of these before? What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Try and describe what they taste like. It's a bit like cake, a bit like croissant, cinnamony, shall we say, like Christmassy, but I do not know how you're supposed to eat them, and I do not know how you're supposed to avoid getting them on the floor.
There's a pigeon flown past.
I'm like a little kid with an ice cream. I'm absolutely gutted now because that was a really nice piece of banana, but hey. These are
Why have you eaten two?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to start on 80s now. They're nice. You try them. And they have strawberry, banana, plain. Mine's got Nutella in it as well. Scrap the diet, guys. Go for it.
And that's the best shop in Prague.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the nicest place to get them from. Georgie Brothers Reviews?
This one.
Like most cities, Prague is split into an old town and a new town, and while both have their charm, there's something extra special about wandering through the old town's winding streets. You could easily spend a day just soaking up the atmosphere, stopping at one of the many bars, restaurants or shops along the way. And if you're wondering about prices, they can vary quite a bit. Some places are aimed at tourists and will charge more, while others, especially if you venture off the beaten path a little, will offer much better value. But if you're a traveller, you will know these things because it's pretty much the same wherever you go in the world. The currency here is the Czech koruna, and while some places do accept euros, it's always better to pay in the local currency to avoid bad exchange rates. At the time of filming, £1 in British money is around 30 Czech koruna. But as exchange rates do fluctuate, it's always best to check before you travel if that's important to you. On the lookout for a loo in the Old Town, we discovered Kafe Damu, or Damu, a student cafe that's got a cool laid-back vibe, and it's a lot more budget-friendly than some of the pricier spots in the Old Town. We did discover, though, this is something I must let you know, finding free toilets was pretty much impossible. Even in places like McDonald's, they charge you to use the toilets, even if you were buying food. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your outlook, we had to keep popping into bars and cafes. Oh, what a shame. But before we head to the main attractions we've come to see today, let's check out a couple of free hidden gems that are held here in the Old Town. Next on the list, I'm going to take you guys to the Municipal Library here in the Old Town of Prague, because there is an installation here that is a bit of an optic illusion, and if you're a book fan or an art fan, well, just a bit of fan of something a little bit unusual, then this is what you'll probably like to see. So come on, let's go and check it out. This, my friends, is the Book Tower installation, also known as Idiom. It is a stunning piece of artwork created by a Slovak artist. It's a giant hollow tower made entirely of books, and if you peek inside, clever use of mirrors make it look like it goes on forever. It's the perfect spot for a cool photo, and let's be honest, there's something magical about being surrounded by so many stories, quite literally, yes. One of my top tips would be, though, is there is a queue for the book tower, and we found that did get smaller as the day went on, so maybe head there in the evening if you don't feel like queuing much. Across the road and at the side of the other library building, you will also find the girl with the paper swallow statue. You need to look up though, or you may miss it. The sculpture is on the cornice of the Hall of Services in the National Library. The swallow, I'm told, is a symbol of freedom and transition, which fits beautifully in a city with such a layered history. And before we leave to see the Charles Bridge, I cannot let you pass without seeing the narrowest hotel in the city, the Clementine Hotel. This quirky little place is squeezed into a building just over 3 metres wide. Despite its size, it's a fully functioning hotel with all the comforts you'd expect. It just goes to show that in Prague, history is packed into every corner, sometimes quite literally. We've now found Charles Bridge, which is one of the oldest bridges in Prague and has some really cool legacies. I've already told you that Prague has always been an important city for astronomers, and the story of Charles Bridge starts with a fascinating touch of numerology. The first stone of this bridge was laid on July 9th, 1357 at 5:31 a.m. An unusual time, right? But it's not just any time. It forms a numerical palindrome, 135797531. It reads the same forwards and backwards, which was no accident. Charles IV, the King of Bohemia, for whom this bridge is named after, was a believer in numerology, and he thought this number would give the bridge additional strength and ensure its success. Court astrologers actually chose this date and time, deeming it particularly auspicious for the bridge's construction. But, spoiler alert, things didn't always go well on this bridge, and since then it's gained quite a dark and supernatural reputation. But that's not what this video is about, because I'm saving the spooky stories for a separate episode. Make sure you've subscribed if you're into that. As we arrive at the bridge, we must walk under the Old Town Bridge Tower, which is one of the most impressive Gothic gateways in the world. This gate to the Old Town was conceived as a symbolic victory arch through which Czech kings passed on their coronation processions. But let's talk about something a little darker from its history. Earlier, we saw those crosses commemorating the Czech lords who met a gruesome fate in 1621. I mentioned that from that execution, 27 severed heads of those men were put on display here. Pretty grim, and I don't think I can quite imagine the immenseness of that number. That's more than 2 football teams, and it is underneath these heads that people would have had to have walked under to take a stroll over this bridge. But I told you that before. What I didn't tell you, however, is that those heads remained on display here for over 10 years, left to rot and be pecked away by the crows. Eventually, it is said they were taken down secretly during the night and buried in an unknown location. But despite the darkness, Charles Bridge is a beautiful work of art, covered in an impressive collection of statues. There are 30 statues here in total, most of them Baroque in style, and they were added in the 1700s. But one of the most important ones is the statue of St. John of Nepomuk, which you will see on the bridge. It depicts the saint who was thrown from this bridge into the river by order of King Wenceslas IV after refusing to divulge secrets from the Queen's confession. You will see people rubbing the statue of St. John here on Charles Bridge. To the left, you can see a soldier patting a dog, and rubbing this is meant to bring you good luck. And to the right, there is a relief of John being thrown into the river, and rubbing this means you will return to Prague. Judging by its discoloration, it's clear there's a lot of people that wish to return to this beautiful city, and I can completely understand why. Now, Charles Bridge is no small feat. It is 516 metres long, 9.5 metres wide, 13 metres high, and stands on 15 pillars. Charles IV had it built in 1357 after the previous bridge was destroyed by floods. Now for a little challenge for you. Do you recognise this bridge from the movies? If you are a film fan, then let me give you a clue. It was on this bridge that a very popular movie from the 90s was filmed. In one particular scene, there was a lot of action, resulting in somebody jumping into the water. Do you know what that movie was? Have a guess in the comments and I'll share it with you, the answer, at the end of this video. After you've crossed the Charles Bridge, you will arrive in the lesser town, one of Prague's most picturesque and historic districts. From here you can discover lots of things, including the John Lennon Wall. The John Lennon Wall is an ever-changing canvas of vibrant graffiti and artwork, inspired by the famous Beatle. It started in the 1980s when young Czechs started painting John Lennon-inspired graffiti, including lyrics and messages of peace. This was quite rebellious at a time of strict communist censorship. The communist government saw the wall as a form of anti-regime protest, and police repeatedly painted over it, but despite their effort, the graffiti kept reappearing almost overnight. After the Velvet Revolution in 1989, which ended the communist rule, the wall remained a living piece of street art. Over the years, it's been transformed, with new layers of paint constantly added, and it's become a symbol of freedom, peace, and resistance. Today, it's not only a place of historical significance, but also a dynamic piece of public art that continues to evolve. The wall represents the spirit of rebellion and the universal power of music, especially as it relates to Prague's fight for freedom during the Cold War. John Lennon Wall, completed it, mate. And not far from the wall, you'll find a Beatles-inspired pub, which sells good Czech beer and has an interesting toilet located inside a phone box. But enough of that, I think it's time we head back to the Old Town and into the underbelly of Prague, where we discover a mystery that's been hidden for hundreds of years. Welcome to one of our favourite places on this entire trip, the Speculum Alchemiae. In English, it's basically the Alchemy Museum, and it is one of the most fascinating hidden gems in Prague. Tucked away in a historic building in the Old Town, this place has an incredible story. Back in 2002, after the devastating Prague floods, a set of secret underground laboratories from the 16th century was discovered beneath the building, completely sealed off for centuries. Now you can take a guided tour through these ancient chambers and step into the world of alchemists, magic and mystery. And what a world it was. Under the reign of Emperor Rudolf II in the late 16th and early 17th century, Prague became a hub of alchemy, mysticism and the occult. Rudolf was absolutely obsessed with the idea of hidden knowledge, elixirs of immortality, transmutation of metals and uncovering the deepest secrets of the universe. He gathered some of the most brilliant minds of the time and put them to work in secret, funding their experiments with the hope of achieving something truly extraordinary. One of the grandest missions? Finding the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary substance said to turn base metals into gold, and more importantly, grant eternal life. Of course, this was dangerous, expensive work, and these alchemists often had wealthy patrons investing in their research, hoping for a very profitable return. I mean, let's be honest, how much would you pay to live forever? Let me know in the comments. Now, back to this underground laboratory. When it was unearthed in 2002, researchers made some jaw-dropping discoveries. The lab had been completely sealed up, reinforcing just how secretive this work was. There's strong evidence to suggest that these tunnels were once linked directly to Prague Castle, where Rudolf II himself resided, allowing for discreet movement between the alchemists and their royal employer. Of course, with secrecy comes rumours, and alchemy has always walked a fine line between science and the supernatural. Stories swirled about black magic, satanic rituals and dark arts taking place in these hidden chambers. But according to our guide, that wasn't the case at all. This was serious scientific work, at least as scientific as things could get in the 16th century. Yes, some of their beliefs might sound bizarre to modern minds, but in those days alchemists were highly respected, especially by Rudolf II. And speaking of unusual beliefs, here's a fun fact. They genuinely believed in dragons. Since most people had never seen a real dragon, understandably, they assumed crocodiles were a type of dragon, and you'll find a few of them here in the lab, although of course they are no longer alive. Alongside it, you'll find shelves stacked with strange herbs, ancient tools and vials of mysterious potions. And then there's the most intriguing object of them all, a sealed potion bottle that was discovered when the lab was unearthed. No one knows exactly what's inside. Could it be the elusive elixir of eternal youth? Nobody dares open it to find out. If you're looking for something truly unique to do in Prague, this museum is a must visit. And if you fancy a piece of alchemy for yourself, some of the recreated elixirs are actually available in the gift shop, perfect for an unusual souvenir. My top tip though, bring cash. The entrance fee is just 200 Czech koruna, which is about £7, but they don't take card. Now, after all that underground exploration, let's check how far we've walked today, grab some proper Czech food and see what the hotel is like for the night. I'm just going to show you something because this sky looks incredible, and I'm showing you me in front of it because I can prove that there is no filter on this. This is genuine, real, bona fide spooky sky. Are you ready? Look at that. Look at that sky. That is not a filter. That is real. Mad. Really dark blue. We're now back in the new town and we've found what TripAdvisor claims to be a proper restaurant with legit Czech food. So this place is said to do goose and duck meat as their speciality, but they also do other traditional Czech food. And I'm really fancying a goulash after somebody recommended I try that. And AD is fancying some of this roasted meat. So let's go and have a look at what this is like. Right then, so AD is going to tell us how far we walked today. Yesterday we did 8 mile. I guessed today we would do 10. So go on, what have we done?
We haven't finished yet.
Well, that's true,
We've
yeah.
walked back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And we've done 9.33 miles.
Oh, we might have to walk back to the hotel the long way around then, so I win the bet.
Oh yeah, chuff off.
After all that walking, we were certainly thirsty. This I'm trying is a homemade raspberry lemonade, which was not quite as I expected, but really delicious. AD tried another one of the 0% Czech beers. He said that was good. Here's my goulash with the traditional dumplings, and then AD had possibly the biggest piece of goose he's ever eaten in his life. Big enough for you, AD?
Yeah, I think so.
And so after the stag party drama of last night, we have now moved to the hotel that we were supposed to be checking into, and this is us arriving for that very first time.
Oh my god, is that the meta bed or is that meant to be bed? It's not coffee.
Yeah, I can smell coffee.
It's big, isn't it?
It's very big.
Right.
Must be for multiple people then.
God, it does, it smells coffee.
It stinks of coffee. This hotel was included as part of that £99 voucher deal, which I spoke about on the last episode. And it was a self-catering apartment in the new town. So concludes the second episode. We've had a really busy day in Prague. We're both really tired now. We've finally checked into the room that we were supposed to be in yesterday. And it's a massive room. I think she said she'd upgraded us. Did she upgrade us?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big room. We've got a double bed and then there's like, here, there's like another bed. So we could have brought one of the kids, but they didn't want to come. And yeah, it's fine. It smells very strong of coffee though. I don't know, maybe that's because I'm not a massive coffee drinker. Anyway, so that is it. If you'd like to join us on the next part 3 of Prague, then that will be obviously going live next week. All right, take care everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day, bye.
Sarah, abort. Repeat, abort.